unofficial Universal Orlando podcast is a member of the Mice Chat Podcast Network. MicePod.com. Now, discover the universe, one theme park at a time.
Greetings, Universal fans! This episode was made possible by Fairy Godmother Travel and the Producers Club. So let's join the gang as we discover more about the Universal Orlando Resort, as well as Universal Studios Hollywood, Japan, and Singapore.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 150 of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. That's right, we have reached the grand total of 150 official episodes. I am Lee, and joining me is Hunter.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you, man?
All right, we've been left out with just the two of us with no chaperones because there's no Darren and Tracy.
This could get dangerous.
Now, joining us for this very special episode is a returning guest and fellow mice chatter, Mr. Sam Gennawey. Hello, Sam.
Hello, all, and congratulations on your, your sesquicennial?
Oh, if you say so. I was going to go a decade and a half. Does that work?
Okay.
A century and a half.
Yeah.
Century and a half, is that right? Decade's 10, isn't it? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Yes.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much. It's good to be back.
Thanks to have you on. Well, we did kind of discuss it when the last time you were on. Actually, I'm going to plug your book first, Sam. Let's see if I can remember the full title of it. It is the Universal versus Disney, the Ultimate Theme Park Rivalry. Is that right?
I believe so, yes. It's a very long title, but it's a great book.
Yes, go and buy it. It is available on Amazon. It's, well, pretty much anyway. You can get books, isn't it, Sam? Is that right?
It is, actually. You can get it on any... It's in a lot of bookstores. It's on Amazon. It is a Kindle book, and it is an audio book as well, which apparently people like my books as audiobooks.
Okay.
Because they could, run or do an errand and catch a story, and then run and do an errand and catch another story. So there you go.
Awesome.
Learning all sorts of things about publishing lately.
Cool. As we said when you were on last time, Sam, we talked about you as an urban planner and talking about, as it's Universal's 25th anniversary a little over a month ago now, to talk about how that park, the sort of the history behind it, and then also how it's set up as a theme park.
Yeah, it's an utterly fascinating story. This is one that it's really a story of a visionary guy and then a competition that really propelled it forward. And the visionary guy that I'm talking about is a guy named Jay Stein. And Jay Stein is fundamental to the story of Universal Studios Florida. In 1967, he took over the division that was running the Hollywood Studio Tour. And the idea to move to Florida was singularly his. He really wanted to do it. His bosses, Sidney Sheinberg and Lou Wasserman, weren't terribly interested in going to Florida. But he was building this thing in Los Angeles that was really working. It was an authentic movie studio, television studio, that happened to have a tourist overlay on it, and the combination was working out as a win-win for absolutely everybody. And he thought this was an idea that he could export, and Florida would be the perfect place to do that because it would have the same symbiotic relationship that Disneyland and Universal Studios Hollywood had. So that was his idea. And so he had put together a very elaborate plan of basically taking what was the experience in Hollywood and moving it to Florida and then tweaking it. And this was about 1981, and a little earlier than that. And he presented this to his bosses, and his bosses, Lou Wasserman and Sidney Sheinberg, said, yeah, it's a fine idea. If you can find a partner, you've got to go ahead and find a partner, or we're not going to move forward. And you're only going to get about 400 acres because, that's how much land we have in L.A., and you haven't filled that all up yet. So that's how much land you should go ahead and purchase. So that was Jay's mission, really, and became his mission to find this partner. So along with Sidney Sheinberg, who was interested in this concept and was really a supporter of Jay's, they started going out and looking for a partner. And the first place they went to was Paramount, because Sidney Sheinberg was personal good buddies with Michael Eisner. Made perfect sense, right?
Yep.
And at the MCA lot in Universal City, they had a whole little area set aside with a very elaborate slideshow with models of what the park would look like and slideshows of what the attractions would do, and all very with multiple projectors and stuff like that. Very elaborate, very sophisticated, and they did this pitch for Eisner, and he was interested in it. And Barry Diller was at this meeting, and they floated it up to the Gulf and Western flag, and they decided Gulf and Western theme park. We don't even know we own a movie company. So that kind of died there, and then they went to a lot of other companies. They went to Lorimar and a few other companies that were out there, MGM. One that they came very, very, very close to was with TAF, which was the folks that owned Hanna-Barbera. And so that's kind of where they were at. They had to get a partner. Fast forward a few years to 1984, Michael Eisner comes on board and to start to run Disney. And of course, Sidney Sheinberg calls him up going, "Hey, good buddy, let's get together. You've got, land in Florida. We bought some land in Florida. Why don't we get together? We want to build a movie studio. We can go as partners." Eisner basically said, we're working on something else. We've got something already going. And that was the bombshell. And all of a sudden that changed everything. And okay, so there we are. We're stuck now. We're in Florida. It's 84. Eisner's starting to work on plans to build the Disney studio tour. At the time, it looked absolutely amazingly like these plans that were presented to him in 1981. And a lot of the stuff looked just absolutely incredible. Like the stuff that was from that was proposed from the Universal Studio Hollywood tour. In fact, I've got this document that was given to me by Jay Stein, that's a comparison of photos between what MCA Universal had as drawings and what Disney had for the same show's drawing, block by block by block. It was just an absolute copy.
But that's quite interesting when Michael Eisner says he wasn't actually at those original meetings, was he not?
Well, so far, he's the only person that I can document that is stating that. All the people that were at the meeting certainly thought that he was there, and Barry Diller had publicly claimed that he was there. So, and Jay said that he was there. So right now, I guess the burden of proof is that Eisner needs to show his date book to show that he was someplace else.
Yeah.
I mean, the story gets weirder. I mean, and weirder. I won't go into all the details because I'll be revealing those in the near future. But here we are. We're in 1984. All of a sudden, Universal's like going, well, we own this land, and we needed to find a partner, and there was just nobody really biting. Other than Taft. They came kind of close with Taft, but then the whole Disney thing meant there was going to have to be a lot more money, so even Taft was getting kind of nervous. And they just had a very big meeting. It was Lou Wasserman, Sidney Sheinberg, Jay Stein, a couple of other folks. And the idea there was, well, we have options. We could sell the property and just move on. It was a good buy. We got the property pretty cheap. It was a good real estate deal. We're fine. We can cut and make a profit. At MCA, that's all that really mattered. So they did that. They had that as an option. They could go ahead and do something very, very modest. And they know that we'd get destroyed by Disney because Disney would always outdo them. They had more money for this sort of thing. They had the wherewithal to do it. So that would be one thing. Or they could go all out and do this like mega project. That's when Taft started getting nervous. But the real killer ultimately was interest rates at the time. And that put the project on hold. And that hold was just long enough for Garth Drabinsky to get into the picture, who was the chairman of Cineplex Odeon, who was that was half owned by MCA, and he was taken over by Sidney Sheinberg after a lunch to see the model and the whole little show. And he was looking at everything and going, "Oh, that's a home run! That's a home run! Oh, I love it. Jaws! Oh, home run! King Kong! Oh, home run!" And he was a favored son of Lou Wasserman and Sidney Sheinberg at the time, and he immediately committed to saying, "Yes, I will be your partner. I will jump in there. I will invest the half." And of course, his company was half owned by MCA, so you do the math. And that was it. That's what closed the deal. He was also a key in pushing Jay and the design team that if you're going to do this, just go crazy and let's just really do this. And so the budget had ballooned to some $600 million from some $300 million.
Talk about a home run.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the idea there was, as Jay has told me numerous times, he had the advantage because Disney was ahead of them, and you would think that would be a disadvantage. But because Disney was ahead of them, they were already announcing and showing everything that they were going to be doing. So he knew what his competition was going to be doing. And like a good general, he figured, well, if they're going to do this, we're going to go ahead and do that instead.
Can I ask you a quick question then, Sam?
Yeah.
If they knew that Disney would trash them in the theme park, what made them go out to Florida in the first place?
Well, in the first place, it was genuinely an opportunity to see that there were some tax benefits. They were very big supporters of Bob Graham, political supporters. There was an opportunity to open studio space. There was a study to be done. There was a study done to see if maybe there was a chance to open sound stages. If they had as many as 6 sound stages, they could put a tour around it. What they discovered, there wasn't that much of a demand, so the tour portion would have to become more important in the operating studio. There were Florida was wanting to become Hollywood East, and so they were waving around a lot of tax benefits.
Right.
And so that was an incentive for them. And then they're just very shrewd businessmen, and they're always looking for an opportunity.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a pressing matter for Lew Wasserman at all. It was if there was a good deal and you could be made. Sidney Sheinberg was into it. It was all Jay Stein. And for those who go to the park often, there is a shrine to Jay Stein. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before on your show. It's go to the Gramercy Park, look at the pylon, see the archangel on the top, and that's Jay Stein. So he's overlord of his park still today, which is very funny.
It's interesting because I bet there's not a lot of the general public. There's probably a lot of us theme park nerds probably know that, but as far as like people who just visit the park on a daily basis, probably have no idea.
The only reason Universal Studios Florida exists is because Michael Eisner made Lew Wasserman and Sidney Sheinberg mad, and those two told Jay, go ahead, just do whatever you have to do, slaughter the guy. That was Hollywood. Lew Wasserman was a much bigger figure in Hollywood than Michael Eisner was, and the whole reason was that they just got them mad. They got the MCA guys mad, and when they got the MCA guys mad, they had to fight back the best way they did it, so they just said, sure, whatever you want. Here's a whole bunch of money. Do it. Fix it. Whatever it is, it's got to be bigger and better, and it's got to slaughter those guys, and it's got to teach them a lesson. And so that was the creation. So they had to rethink the whole idea of moving Hollywood to Florida because that wasn't going to work. But the one core thing that Jay wanted to have was he always wanted it to be a working studio. That was the charm. That was the authenticity that rung well here. And he always knew that Disney would never be able to pull that off. They would never be able to pull off an authentic studio. It was always going to look like a Disney version of a studio. And it's that inauthenticity that's different, and that's what makes Universal different. Is it really was, and this is a guy who started in the mailroom in 1959 and was on his track to become either a director or a producer, but ultimately got at age 26 in charge of all the studio tour and Yosemite Valley, which they ran, and the landmark tours in Washington D.C., which they ran, and a bunch of other stuff. So that's the core story of Universal Studios Florida is that one movie mogul got another movie mogul mad, and the other movie mogul wanted to show him up.
Awesome. Why not?
Isn't that romantic? It was. And as from a design point of view, from an urban design point of view, I got to say, the Jay Stein and Barry Upson, which were the key guys there, and there was Peter Alexander and Bob Ward and many, many others that designed the park. They decided to break the whole thing down, and they realized, well, we don't really need a tram because we had a tram in LA just because we had the people way on the top of the hill and the studio was way at the bottom of the hill. We needed a tram to get them from the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill, the bottom of the hill to the top. This is flat, so a tram's stupid. You don't need to have a tram tour. So they decided to create a studio where you could just walk through the front lot and go off to the back lot and wander around. And what the real magic on a design point of view is, first of all, Universal City is an urban park in an urban space. Disneyland was pretty much a suburban park in a suburban space. Universal Studios Florida is an urban park in an urban space. Disney World is a suburban park in a suburban space, which is why you have to sit most of the time on a bus as opposed to walking between the rides or being on a boat in a very compact resort. That was a Jay Stein, Barry Upson, just genius idea that is paying off decades later of having a very sustainable size resort.
That might change shortly.
Yeah, well, they had 2,700 acres once before, and then they sold it, and so if they buy more land and stuff, but it's still, whatever it is, it's always going to be more compact and connected than whatever Disney World has.
Well, that's the thing with them with them just announcing now that the Wet and Wild property's closed. Well, no, the Wet and Wild Park, that they've got that land there, which is like sort of down Universal Boulevard and along I Drive. It's not miles away from it, but for me, it's like you said there, Sam. I love the fact that those two parks are compact. That you park your car in the parking lot. You walk into City Walk, and then you've got everything within a short walking distance. Whereas you start throwing in that Wet and Wild plot, it's buses or whatever they decide to chuck in to get you from whatever that ends up being to the actual resort itself.
But if you really think about it, Long Vision really isn't the only barrier the river called the freeway, and all you have to do is just cross the freeway. You can cross the freeway with some sort of a transit system that has benefits of moving massive amount of guests back and forth from two destinations, because you could turn the Wet and Wild into a secondary destination, but it's also a giant billboard over the freeway that's constantly going over. And it's Florida. It's not like you guys have laws in Florida or anything. So with enough money,
especially on the road, I'll add.
Yeah, enough political will, enough money, and and the environmental report, you say, yeah, we built this tram, it's good for traffic. You're going to get it approved. So I if Comcast has a bit of money and they've got some vision with this sort of thing, I think that's not a significant barrier.
That'll be our Fast and Furious attraction.
Yeah, getting across from there to there.
No turn signals, the ride.
With the trams, they use the technology on the Hogsworth train, where instead of seeing the freeway as you cross over, you experience part of Universal or a movie, ride or something. All right, I'm going off on a different tangent. So back to the park. The idea was simple now. It was, we don't need a tram, so we're just going to let you wander around a back lot, but we want a really authentic back lot. So they had the best guys in the business, Harry Bumstead and Norm Newberry, design the back lot, and from every single angle in that back lot area was designed so it could be used for production. It's not like the Disney thing. There's no Hollywood producer in their right mind that would film something on the back lot of Disney MGM Studio, even in its heyday, because it just didn't look authentic. It didn't work right. You couldn't film at the different angles a real studio needed. But at Universal, you could, and you had those little alleys, which still exist today, my favorite part in the whole park.
Yeah.
Or Central Park, which still exists today, another one of my favorite parts in the whole park. People stay away, don't go in there. I like sitting out there by myself. It's wonderful. So you walk through the front lot, you walk through where the offices are first, just like you would in Hollywood. You walk past the producer studios, just like you would in Hollywood, the little bungalows, which you would on Hollywood. And then you go off into this Randy Dual kind of loop thing with a big lagoon in the middle of it, and you experience all these different worlds. And the idea was easy. We want to make every back lot filmable. We want to use the absolute best design. That was one area where they didn't cut a single dime. They spent everything they could, which is why even today, 25 years later, they haven't changed that much if you think about it, and it really is still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just pull out the Rip It Rocket roller coaster and we'll be all happy.
No, I like that. I'm the only person on the planet that actually likes that coaster.
Yeah, well, then I just won't hold that against you.
You're one of the ones. So is that partially why Disney really focused more on the animation side of things later in the studio's life?
Oh, Disney they were kind of lost with it at the beginning of it. They knew they could never get any producers. They were getting, even before they opened up the first soundstage, they had a whole advertising campaign, and they had to negotiate building new sound stages that didn't have the walkthrough because no Hollywood producer wanted to produce at Disney. And it was really kind of hurting Eisner's, I'm going to steal Universal's thunder. Universal picked up Nickelodeon. That was really the savior at Universal, because they could open with not only a real production studio that was familiar, but in those days you really could not only get slimed, but you could get slimed on television, and that was a very authentic moment that they had there. So so that's they didn't have any real success with it, and it wasn't really designed for filming. And the only area that they did really any filming was the residential street, but that was really like a house and a couple of houses on the side. So that was a pretty easy set to figure out. But there was that authenticity that was built in, and then the genius idea of hiding the rides, and they're rides there, they're not attractions. That's Disney. But the rides behind the sort of city facade. So, King Kong was in New York, and Earthquake was in San Francisco, and you walk through Amityville, and that's where you had the dead Jaws and stuff like that, which was a terrific way of hiding those things in these massive sound stages. that were back there. So that was the idea. It was to free the guests to walk along the back lot, the front lot, to enjoy it themselves, to learn how movies were made, to really ride the movies, the Spielberg, who's really the one who came up with that line, and to basically get you to scare you to laughter. And that was the thread that tied really everything, is that at some moment there was a thing called a J-bang, that's what they called them, named after J. Stein, where it was meant to go, blah, and you talked about that. And that's why Universal's different than Disney. And you know what? Weirdly, that's why Universal's still different than Disney, because even the Harry Potter stuff have J-bangs. There are moments everywhere that are meant to make you go, blah, and laugh, and look at your friend and laugh.
And Disney tried to do it a little bit with the alien encounter, and yeah, that didn't work.
And in a weird way, I sort of also think that Indiana Jones out here on the West Coast at Disneyland is, in my head, which was opened in '95, so it was 5 years after Universal had opened. In my head, is very it's very Universal-like. You're back to being first person, which is in a sense. You were being scared, the vehicle would go, oh, when it sees the snake and stuff like that. And I always think Indiana Jones is a very Universal Studio ride.
Very much is.
My weird opinion. So
I cannot comment.
And then it's kind of like Mummy is Universal's attempt of Indiana Jones a couple of years later almost.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky in Florida. In Florida, you get to go on a neat Mummy ride. Yeah. In California, I see that as big open space that's going to be remodeled into the next franchise as we move along. But once again, I digress, and that's not anything that's anybody's ever said except for me. Just go back alleys and admire the detail and the fun stuff that's back there, because there's never any people back there.
Well, that seems a good point to take a quick break for our ad, and then we'll be back and we'll cover that in a second, Sam.
Diagon Alley is open at Universal Studios Florida, and we know all you witches and wizards can't wait to visit. So let our friends at Fairy Godmother Travel deal with the muggles in resort reservations. They are Universal Parks and Resort specialists, as well as an authorised Disney vacation planner, and their service is free to you. From the new Cabana Bay Hotel to those other hotels run by a mouse, Fairy Godmother Travel can book all your Orlando area vacation needs. And make sure to let them know you heard about them because of the UUOP, because every UUOP referral helps us continue to bring you the best Universal coverage. Contact them today by phone on 832-284-4002 or toll free 888-939-642539 or go to fairygodmothertravel.com. Let Fairy Godmother Travel make your next vacation magical.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
Welcome back, everyone, and we want to carry on with Sam. So, Sam, we said we wanted to talk about the urban design of how the park's designed, because you look at, what was in Florida at the time of that open? Obviously, MGM had only just opened, but when the original concept for Universal started to come out, you had Epcot, Labine just open, and then the Magic Kingdom, which was what everyone kind of looks at as the sort of perfect theme park design, is it that hub and spoke design? Now, Universal set up very differently.
It is. In the case of Epcot, it's really a hub and spoke in the front part in Future World, and then it becomes sort of an homage to a guy named Randy Duell, who designed theme parks, which is the idea of you put a lagoon in the middle and you circle the lagoon. The advantage being that the guest path of travel is very simple. You just go one way or you go another. Yeah. You can't get lost. You can stroll close to a water's edge. You can stroll in larger paths that are away that carry more people. You can string the attractions around the outside, and you can create a focal point for lagoon shows or some sort of excitement in the middle, a nighttime spectacular kind of thing. So it was becoming a design. It was becoming a design idea that was even used at Universal Studios Hollywood in its early days as well. This idea of putting things that are around a lagoon. The only disadvantage to that as a design philosophy is that if what you really want is on the other side, you have to walk all the way around it.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful of where you pull icons and things that drag people around the park. So that was the base design. You basically have a little grid at the very, very beginning, but that's the front lot. And the front lot of a movie studio usually are office buildings that are based onto a grid, and then it quickly sort of degenerates. Now, the other part of the urban design that I really like about it, it's something Disney's continuing to remove in their parks, but and I hope it's just not benign neglect over at Universal, but there are still quiet little passages, I keep mentioning those, that you have at Universal, and that was built purposely by Harry Bumstead, Bummy as people used to call him, and Norm Newberry, along with Bob Ward, was this real high level of detail. Go look at the Hollywood Boulevard at Disney and look at the one in Florida. The one in Florida, the building reproductions are absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
I live in Los Angeles, and I see these real buildings, and the level of detail is just outstanding. And there's a design concept that adds a level of depth so that if you're filming, there's an articulation of the structures that don't really exist even in a real city. And that's the magic of guys who really know how to build backlots at real movie studios so that you really feel that you're there. There was a mantra. There was no space at the original Universal Studio Florida that they could not use for filming. That was a mantra, and everything had to reflect that. As far as the rides, everything had to be bigger and better. You notice there were no there were no C and B attractions in that park. Everything were E attractions. They were all designed so that they had huge throughputs, so that as a guest, you really never had to wait more than 45 minutes for whatever the ride was. So that was a design concept as well. They wanted to have huge throughput attractions. Here's another difference between Disney and Universal. Go into the bathrooms. The bathrooms at Universal parks are by design at least 25% bigger than any bathroom at Disney World. They're huge. I mean, you could put armies of people in the bathrooms at Universal, and that was by design. They had a guy who went out to study the hot dogs at Disney, and at Universal, the hot dogs were rounder and they were longer.
Okay.
Their whole team was constantly comparing what did Disney have and what can we do that was better than Disney had for our guests. That's what we wanted to do because their goal was quite simply for Lou Wasserman to look with satisfaction in Eisner's face and go, neener, neener, neener. That was the goal of everything. So everything was designed to be bigger and better and just more. And that's why the park had its issues on opening day.
Yeah. It's quite interesting because it seems to be Steve Burke has the same attitude now.
Exactly. Oh, it is. And you know what? He has the same motivation. Steve Burke, as many people may or may not know, he runs Comcast. He's in charge of the parks. For a long time, he had worked at Disney. He got the Disney stores started. He fabulously turned around Disneyland Paris. I mean, Disneyland Paris as a theme park has been the most successful tourist attraction in Europe. Figure that out.
Doesn't say much for the rest of them.
Yeah. Well, it bogs down. No, I have friends who are really big on European theme parks, so I don't know about that. But it was always bogged down by the amount of hotels that they built. That was always a sort of financial issue. But he got that going on a good footage, and he was doing great stuff. And it looked like he was probably going to be the guy to run the parks at Disney, which would have been fabulous. But he was passed over by the president of Disneyland, Paul Pressler. That didn't work very well for him, so he went off to Comcast. And many people recall that Comcast tried to buy Disney at one upon a time. And Eisner said, no, they'll destroy the parks. They don't care about the parks. They don't care about the parks. But little did people realize that, actually, they realized the parks were a good thing. Then when Universal came up and General Electric was trying to unload them, that came up. Burke was like, yeah, get it. I mean, they've got great intellectual properties. They've got these theme parks that have been underinvested, underutilized. They have some pretty talented people that they could utilize over there, and there's a lot of outsiders they could bring on board to help with this stuff. And he also knew the management over at Disney, and he worked with them. And there's a quote in the Universal versus Disney, which I do not have off the top of my head. All of you with your Kindle versions, look it up. But it is the one quote that sums up everything, and he basically kind of slogs Bob Iger and Tom Staggs. And basically suggests that he understands this segment of the business, and he senses that there's a weakness in Disney that they can take advantage of and exploit. And you know what? They have. Now, to give credit where credit's due, it's Tom Williams, who has been with that park forever and ever and ever. Tom Williams, who has survived through multiple corporate ownership, much to his credit. Tom Williams, the wonderful guy who signed the deal to bring Harry Potter to Universal Studio Florida while General Electric was in charge, and who had figured out somehow to get that deal done. So Tom Williams deserves a great deal of credit. That now Comcast is basking in this, and Steve Burke is confident that there is still a weakness, and they're exploiting it. To us theme park fans, go, go, go. I love when Hollywood guys are fighting with each other. It's the coolest thing.
I know we've talked to going back on to like how the parks design and stuff. I remember talking to Jim Hill a while back, and he said, like, I know specifically the New York area was set up so they could actually film stuff in it. It's why it's on kind of a curve. So if you shot it from one end, you wouldn't see any of the theme park from that end. And again, from the other end, you could shoot it so you wouldn't see other bits and bobs like that. And like you say, the back at Sting Alley and stuff that you could film in. I mean, I've actually watched over Christmas. I watched, and don't judge me on this, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective Jr.
Yeah,
which was all filmed in Florida. It was a god-awful film.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was filmed in Universal and Islands of Adventure, and it was quite interesting that they used like the top end of New York and round there as supposedly a New York street. And it was quite interesting, like knowing the parks and watching it going, oh, well, I know where that is. But also watching it from someone who trying to watch it from someone who doesn't know the parks and think, it does look like they are in a street, not necessarily in a theme park.
Well, that was the core thing. Jay Stein figured that his one competitive advantage that he always would have over Disney MGM, and wisely thought this, was that he could present an authentic experience of a real working studio. And he knew that Disney was not capable of producing that they did not have the infrastructure, nor did they have the connections that would allow them to ever become that. And he knew that was the difference between Disneyland here in California and Universal Studios Tour. They complemented each other. If you wanted to immerse yourself and be part of the show, you go down to Disneyland. If you wanted to see how the show is being built, you went over to Universal Studios Hollywood. And at Universal Studios Hollywood, under Ron Benison, was starting to transform to locals to say, look, you don't have to come every 2 years. We want you to come every year. We're going to keep adding stuff. So they were very aggressive in their growth on the West Coast as well. But they always knew that their difference was it was an authentic studio. And that's why it was the best backlot designers in the business, designing first and foremost a usable backlot and movie studio. And then they inserted the guest attractions throughout the backlot, the same way that they did Universal Studios Hollywood. It was always a studio first, and they inserted the visitor services. Here they made it a bit more seamless, and they just made you walk.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was designed. It wasn't this fake backlot like at Disneyland. It was designed to bring producers, and with Lew Wasserman and Sidney Sheinberg, they had a pretty admirable amount of production, as you guys well know, and you've probably talked about it in the past. A lot of stuff got filmed there. Go look at those plaques on the wall in between those two sound stages there and stuff, and you realize, wow, this place was used quite a bit, wasn't it now?
Yeah, and it's quite interesting that they seem to be getting back into that a little bit more now. All right, it's Sharknado 3, but some people seem to love those films for some strange reason. But, they did American Ninja Warrior, and they are using the parks more for filming and stuff now, which obviously is the NBC connection.
Yeah. Well, they own the land. They might as well. It's already designed to do, first-class productions. It has absolutely everything that you would ever want in a true Hollywood studio, because it was designed first and foremost by the guys who know how to design Hollywood studios. And that's what it was. The struggle was with the ride mechanisms on the backside, but that infrastructure, which to the penny, they spent every dollar they could on it. That's something that Lew Wasserman and Sidney Sheinberg insisted. It was Jay Stein's mantra to the design team. I want to be able to do filming in this place, make sure it looks like that. When I visited him recently, had not been to the park in many, many years. we talked about the Transformers building, and his first reaction was, "Whoever did that should have been fired." And I thought, yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, it's been a sort of issue of conjecture over since it opened, because it is a bit of a... It is what it is, I suppose.
It's in the way is what it is. But, I understand. It's, it's the new icon. If you're on the other side, if you're in Harry Potter, you can kind of figure out where Transformers is. But I just, from the guy who was the visionary, who invented the park, was there from the very beginning, who ran the team, I just thought it was a very funny reaction of, I'd fire the guy. Yeah, so he was kind of known to be a bit of a hard boss. So
yeah.
But that's at the urban design. And the whole resort from the very beginning was designed to be a 2-gate resort. The second gate, original design for the second gate, was going to be called Warner's Cartoon World. They always intended to have hotels. They were looking at the idea of condos. There was land set aside for a golf resort. So the whole thing was always designed to be a compact resort. The waterway was always instrumental as a connector from the very, very beginning. It was just really a matter of settling on a theme for the second gate. Which weirdly, and I've seen the Smoking Gun memo on this. It was, I forget the date. It was either just before or maybe within a week or so after Universal Studios Florida opened. I think it was right afterwards. There's a memo from Jay Stein to Sidney Sheinberg describing what the second gate would look like, which was going to be called Warner's Cartoon World. And he says, even though we're working on it must have been afterwards. Even though we're working on we're still working on getting the first park fixed, I want to show you my ideas about the second park. Now, I've not shared these ideas with my team yet. I'm just sharing them with you because that was the MCA way. You kind of started with the small world first, and then you worked out from there. And I've read the memo, and it would have been truly the greatest theme park on the face of the universe. I just would have. I would go again and again. I would move to Florida to go to that theme park.
I did not know that was the original plan from the start.
Yeah, that was always designed to be a resort because, once again, they were going to move into Florida. They were going to go head-to-head with Disney. If you're going to go head-to-head with Disney, you're going to go head-to-head in every way. You're going to have hotel operators, that whole business. You knew you were going to have hotels. They made a great deal with the Hard Rock folks to bring them over and bring them on board. They ended up having, I forget off the top of my head who the first hotel chain was, but then Lowe's turned out to be a terrific partner with them and stuff like that. It was always meant, at least in Jay Stein's mind, to be bigger and better than what Walt Disney World was. Subsequent corporate owners may not have seen that potential, but current management apparently does. They see that potential that right now they can take market share and stay days and spending away from Disney, and every single month seems to be proving them to be right, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, we've found over Hunter, let's be honest, over the last 4 or 5 news shows, how many major announcements have we talked about?
Oh man, it's ridiculous. It's at least 2 or 3 every single show now.
Yeah, it's Nintendo and Volcano Bay and Kong and Sapphire Falls, and they're not tiny little announcements, the huge things, yet Disney are doing nothing. I'm sure they're working on stuff in the background, but they're not announcing anything.
No, I understood that you could get a Tomorrowland Magic Band now or something like that.
And a watch.
A watch?
Yes, you can get a watch.
Tomorrowland Magic Band?
Oh, Hunter, shut up. No, you can now get
something like that.
They've started selling
maybe I'm wrong.
Watch face things for the Magic Bands, haven't they? So you can get, it's like a 1980s digital watch that attaches to your Magic Band.
Wow, it's a swatch with an RFID.
But hang on. The worst thing about it is, wait for it, you can't use the RFID tag on the Magic Band while the watch is where it should be, so you have to move the watch around the Magic Band to still be able to use the RFID tag in the band.
Or I could just go on a ride that has King Kong scaring me to laughter.
Exactly. Or you can buy animal poop to eat at Disney as well. Oh, you can't now. They've got rid of it, haven't they?
Oh, I don't even know what that one's about.
Really? The new bakery shop that opened in Animal Kingdom in the new Harambe was selling brownies in the shape of certain types of animal poop.
It was a really thing to do.
Oh, Hunter. I like the idea. I think it's funny. See, that to me, that's a Universal thing.
Yeah, that is. If it's kind of smart ass, it's usually a Universal thing. No, that's and Disney doesn't tend to do Universal very well. Universal tends to do Universal much better. From Disney, I'm always expecting at least a nice little warm embrace, or if you're going to make me laugh, you're going to tickle me. At Universal, or you know what? I can here. If you want me to be really deep for a second here, I've been working on this. Here's the difference between Universal and Disney. Disney was designed by one guy basically, so that he could share what he saw on his vacations and his interests to the world. That was Disneyland. And it was laid out in a very human scale, basically as one person. That's why Disneyland and Walt Disney World really are really wonderful places to go by yourself. You can really get lost and you can really enjoy that. Now, if you think about it, going to Universal by yourself is okay, but it's not really as fun. Universal's really designed to be a shared experience, and it was explicitly that, because the laugh is better when you're scared and the person next to you is scared, and then you look at each other, and that's when you start to laugh. And so by design, fundamentally, Disney was designed to be beauty, whereas Universal was designed to be the sublime. So that's my super deep philosophical difference now between those two companies and their approach. And when Disney does what it does well, it does it better than anybody and can never be beat. You know what? Universal's done some really nice stuff, but nothing really is as beautiful as what the stuff that Disney does. On the other hand, nothing will make you tickle you that way that Universal does, truly. So there's my philosophical. Please discuss.
No, I think you're right. It is absolutely. I forgot what I was going to say now. There. No, it's gone.
And folks, this is Universal versus Disney. That's why you should buy the book. You'll read it. You'll come to these epiphanies. But yeah, and now I understand why it is that I tend to have no problem really running around Disney by myself. But at Universal, I do, as much as I love walking slowly and looking at the detail, I do find when I'm in Florida, especially, I'll call friends in Florida and tell them, hey, I'm at Universal, come visit. But I won't tell them the days that I'm there at Disney because I can go, enjoy Disney by myself. So isn't that weird? But that's why I think that's the case. At least that's what my driving. So I look forward to the chat between all of your listeners and what they think. Please tell me what you think.
Absolutely.
If I'm like some half-crocked little old man in a tower in downtown LA, or I may be onto something here.
No, I think that'd be quite interesting. If people want to get in touch, the email address is podcast@uuopodcast.com, and I'd definitely like to find out that. But it's like you say, Sam, it is.
Or like the Sam Gennawey page on Facebook and let me know. I am kind of curious because that's, as an urban planner, you've asked me on the numerous occasions, as an urban planner, what do I think? And in my head, I want to know the operating system that's used to make those areas fundamentally work. And I've obsessed over what makes the real world work as a professional. And as the Disney experience works through the first two Disney books in the Samland column, has been mostly about Disney. But now I'm absolutely obsessed about why the Universal experience works and continues to work, and why it still feels different than the Disney experience. What's the operating system between the two companies, so that when they start to cross over from each other, that's when I can figure out when they're starting to lose it.
Yeah.
So that's my obsession, and I thank you guys for indulging me on this obsession.
Because that's what I was going to say again. I think that's the thing, because a lot of that Universal versus Disney thing's been going on quite a lot, not just between the companies themselves, but also the fans. I mean, we rib each other on the show. Hunt is the pixie dust snorter out of the four of us, and the problem.
Actually, Hunter, I'm with you. I'm still ultimately more of a Disney fan than a Universal fan.
Thank you.
But the problem is, sorry, Hunter, go on.
No. I was appreciating his support.
Yeah, because we don't.
I need someone to fly with.
The problem is, Disney fans go to Universal expecting a Disney-like experience, and that's not what you're going to get, because it's not the same place.
No, it goes to a different part of your brain. The Disney experience is designed fundamentally to erase your lizard brain so that you can become true to yourself and true to your family, and you can start to communicate with the environment and share stories. And that's what the Disney environment, that's why it's not cities, which is all about messy vitality. Universal fundamentally is more like the real world. There's always a bit of messy vitality. Things still cross over. There's always a little bit of noise. The difference is if you're at Disneyland or Disney world and you change the channel, it's seamlessly from one genre to another. At Universal, there's always a little bit of static on that little old thing when you go from one channel to another. It's not designed to be nearly as seamless. Now, when you're completely immersed within an environment, it's like a cinema experience. You are completely immersed in the environment. But I will say, in defense of where Universal gets it right and where they don't is when Universal has a intellectual property from a very strong licensee like Warner Brothers and Rowling for Harry Potter and 20th Century Fox for The Simpsons, the areas are just glorious. But, you've been on the Minions ride out here on the West Coast?
Nope.
Where it's in the old Terminator building? You go in into a queue that makes no sense. You're going into a living room that I think is supposed to be Crew's living room, but it has theatrical lighting. So I don't think Crew's really doing that. Then you go into the pre-show, but I don't really need to hear the whole show through the door while I'm in the pre-show, because they didn't go through the extra step of making it so that you couldn't hear the main show. And so and that's Illuminations, and Illuminations is owned by Universal. And I'm sure you're hearing fans all over talking about Fast and Furious. Once again, it's owned by Universal, so it's they do need that good partner that helps push them a little bit harder. So they didn't have that in those cases.
I think going back on to kind of what you said before, Sam, about getting the guys that actually built the backlot out in Hollywood to do the one in Orlando, they kind of did the same, like with Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley, that rather than trying to do it themselves and do their version of what was in the films and the books, that they actually reached out to the guys who created Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley for the films themselves. Yeah, that was really the brilliant move on the agreement between Universal and Warner Brothers, was that they had to use Stuart Craig, who was the set designer for the first 4 films, I believe. And what was fun about it is it really was the Walt Disney solution. If you were a set designer, the store is a certain size because the store is supposed to be a certain size. If you're a urban planner or an architect, you want to have a store fit a certain number of people, which means it has to have a certain square footage, which means the aisles have to be a certain width. And what you end up having is you have stores that look like stores anywhere. Now, a lot of people would poo-poo it and say, oh my God, the stores are really cramped and crowded. I had to wait in a line. Now, in the real world, that's kind of rude. But at a theme park, if people have to wait in a line to get into a store, that's like the perfect situation, because once they enter that store, they're damn well going to go buy something, aren't they now? Yeah. And the thing is, it reinforces the story. And so that's where I think, and maybe this is my big lesson out of all this, is that Universal is becoming Walt Disney's version of a theme park, which is that you build it, they will come. Yeah. And then you build more of it, and they will come. And then you take them into a world that they otherwise couldn't go in. You give them some experience that's so overwhelming that they're going to tell their friends to go experience. You're going to supplement that with secondary attractions and rides and theme and shops that reinforce that whole theme. You're going to sell them merchandise that they can't find anywhere else. And as soon as they leave that area, they can't find it anywhere else. So you better get it. There's that sense of urgency. You're going to be carrying a bag around with you that whole day. You just better get warned about that now. And that's how Disneyland was really developed, and really up until the Eisner era. And now Disney's going off into a whole different world using technology to do whatever it's doing. But that's a different discussion. Yeah. I mean, you look at the authenticity of the Wizarding World. I mean, we haven't actually been to Diagon Alley yet. It's not that far.
Oh, my God, you're going to love it.
Oh, tell me about it. I can't wait. I know damn well, Hunter, you vouch for me. I will cry when I enter that land.
I'm telling you right now, the thing to do is to buy one of those wands that activate stuff.
Right.
And buy some beer. Just walk around. There's 25 different things. Between the beer and the wand, you will have your best theme park experience ever. It's better than drinking around the world at Epcot.
But,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so if you look at how that's designed, I know Universal had a lot of trouble when Diagon Alley first opened, because it's all hidden behind that London facade. They had to put people out in front of it to let people know where Diagon Alley was.
It's still a problem.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful, because the thing is that once you find it and you've gone through the experience and you had to work at it a little bit, when you walk through that portal, you go, whoa. It's kind of the same thing even at the original Disneyland. You know, the entrance wasn't right at the front. You saw a big Mickey Mouse face, but you did have to go left or right. You had to go through a tunnel. And for just a brief flash of a second, you couldn't really see what's on the other side of that tunnel. Then when you enter the other side of the tunnel, you go, whoa. Once again, it's a throwback to classic theme park design as the first and second generation Imagineers really understood it, and I think that's why it works. And it's really simple from a planning point of view. It's just basically a loop, and I think Nocturne Alley is just genius. And it's never really crowded for some reason, and it's air conditioned. And there's a set of steps that's up. I'm tearing it. This is killing you, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And there's a set of steps that you're going to go. And I know for a fact it's going to be one of those places you're just going to walk up there and sit at one of the top of the steps and just look down and watch the crowd go, "Ooh, wow, the dragon just made fire," and that kind of thing. It really is very splendidly designed, very simple. And the big game changer is the train that connects the parks.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that's going to reinvent the theme park experience. So,
it seems quite interesting to the amount of people we've talked about Diagon Alley that even though it's a relatively small area, there are places that, like Nocturne Alley, that people don't actually realise are there, and that you can go and discover new things.
And that was a very big thing with the original Disneyland design and the original Magic Kingdom design and even Epcot, is that in a movie you have big moments that are loud and in your face, but then there's also moments where it's very, very quiet and you get away and you're by yourself a little bit, and it allows you to have contrast, and that contrast makes the experience much more rich. Hogsmeade did that, but Diagon Alley takes that to another step because they had more room, and I think, they kind of understood a bit more what was going to happen, so they were able to take advantage of that too. So we'll see. So I look forward to the Harry Potter here in Southern California and having the ride go down all the time, and people lose their 3D glasses and they get tossed off their heads, but but it should be fun. I'm ready to line up at 6 a.m. because it's going to take 6 hours to get through the gate for a space that's really going to be teeny.
Yeah. Again, my brain's gone again. Like going back into like the Wizarding World and stuff, just the authenticity of having actual opening doors in a theme park is completely alien.
It's true. That's true. I never really ever thought of that.
Yeah.
And the doors are like normal size as well, too. No.
I've been sat when that thought came into my head about 5 minutes ago, and I've been trying to walk around other theme parks and think, what are the doors like? And you very rarely see an actual proper door.
It is, as much as I've studied the sort of backbone of parks, it reminds me much more, if it reminds me of anything the most, it reminds me of New Orleans Square at Disneyland. It has a level of quality, variety, and surprise. There's your urban planner terms for it. But it's got quality, variety, and surprise. Everything is built at a high quality. Whatever surfaces you touch are real, at least they feel like real surfaces. So anything you can touch feels real. That's really quite nice. Whether they are or not is all about magic now, isn't it? There's variety. There are loud moments. There are quiet moments. You can have the performances, and even if it's kind of raining, the performances work well in that space. And there's a variety of experiences. If you want to get close to an audio animatronic and actually talk to one, you get that goblin or whatever he is in the bank that talks to you. The queue is wonderful. The ride for the few times I went on, that wasn't when it was working, was splendid. But everything has quality, variety, and surprise. If you walk through an urban space or a theme park space, keep those three things in mind. I bet you the places that you really like have all three of those. Okay. If they do, you'll really like it. If they are missing something, then they're just not quite there. And that's something you as an aficionado will end up picking out. So quality, variety, surprise, great game to play with your friends. You'll find it works really, really well to define, that's why I like coming back here and spending all this money.
Okay. That's quite, because it's funny, like going back into what you said about areas that we're going to have you back on at some point, because I really want to talk about Islands of Adventure as a setup as well. And I think that's like that there are areas, the general run-of-the-mill because it's a circular design, but then there are, if you venture off the beaten path, there are those little areas that people don't know about. Let's throw one out there. Jurassic Park in front of the Discovery Centre is a lovely, really nice quiet area. No one goes there. You get a perfect view of the park.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, Phil Hedema, who was the head designer for the park, a great guy, wrote the foreword to Universal versus Disney, plug. Phil Hedema, when I interviewed him, he describes it, I think he describes it in the book this way, as peninsulas of adventure.
Right.
That they purposely designed it so that you had not only the Randy Dual Oval, and they did talk about, we'll get into this in the next discussion, about a crossover path, but the brilliance of it was to taking the Hollywood Universal Studios Florida experience one level more by creating attractions on the outside, a logical, solid walking path that exposes you to all the different opportunities, and then you can sneak away to these peninsulas, and that's some of my favorite part of those parks. But you're right, I guess it's a teaser, because the next time we'll talk about how Warner's Cartoon World evolved into Islands of Adventure and some of the brilliant ideas that were carried over, and why Islands of Adventure is my second favorite theme park in the whole world.
I love Islands of Adventure. It's funny as well, because people, I'd say what one thing Universal seem to do really, really well is use space well. Like just a little thing, if you look at what they did with the 2 mini golf courses, that's such a small area, and they are so crammed in, yet you never feel like it's a small area.
Yeah, it's because they're cheap and want to make money.
I love that. I love those mini golf courses.
Wait, there's a couple of square feet that aren't making us some money? Oh,
Why
I
not?
think we can figure out something we could do with that now.
But then people don't realise how close the theme parks are together.
No, and I think that's what people are discovering. As I kind of understand it, people are cutting their Disney World trip maybe a day short. They're spending a couple of days either at Universal or nearby Universal. They're certainly not going to SeaWorld from I looked at the numbers, but
No.
They are going to Universal. And I guess that there's, from sources I've heard, some evidence that's showing that people are going to Universal first and exposing themselves to that first, then going over to Disney World. And, after you've had fun at Universal and you spent a lot of money on those Thing 1, Thing 2 shirts, and the idea that, wow, I could just park and that was it. And it's like really connected. And then you go and you have your 5 days or so at Disney World. It's like, I'm on a bus. I'm on my car. The next year thinking, well, maybe we'll do an extra day at Universal, and Universal's been, feeding the fire by saying, well, we're going to have this for you, we're going to have that for you. And as a company, from a press release point of view, as you guys well know, they announced things really, really late. Like, didn't they just announce the Simpsons food court after the soft opening was done here, and everybody was already eating it? So, there's going to be surprises that they're going to have. They're really quite talented about that too. So, like I say at the beginning of this, it's an exciting time as a theme park aficionado on the East Coast and the West Coast. I look forward to more. Please be mad at each other, companies. I like it. It's good.
It's funny. We still see on Facebook forums and stuff like that, people asking, can you do Islands of Adventure and Universal in 2 days? It's like, well, yes, but why would you want to?
Oh, good answer. Yeah, if you stayed at one of the hotels, you could, because you can get through the queues. But yeah, I would agree with you. You could kick a little bit more time there nowadays.
Yeah, we're coming over in October for 8 days, and we're spending all 8 days at Universal. But we're the weirdos.
It's weird for me though, because I've written a lot of books about Disney, and I write column about it and stuff. My last 3 Florida trips over a year. One was a research trip, so specifically for Universal. I didn't go to Disney World property once. The second one was a combination book tour, and I was doing some speeches, and I stayed at Universal and went there, but I never made it over to Disney World. And my final trip was oh my God, I'm finished with this Universal book. I'm going to go take myself to a vacation Universal and just make sure I got it right. And I only went one day to have drinks at Disney, and I never went to Disney World property. And I'm trying to decide if when I go back to Florida, I'm going to go do the Universal thing because, I have an annual pass. It's really cheap, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, okay, well, so what's at Disney that I hadn't seen? The Snow White roller coaster.
We did an episode about 3 weeks ago where we went through everything that was new. We haven't been over since 2013, so we did a show of everything that's new or changed in the park since 2013 between now. And we spent an hour and 15 minutes going through everything that's new at Universal, City Walk, the 2 parks and the hotels. You tried to do that for Disney, you'd be done in 10 minutes, if that.
Yeah, I have to go listen to that, because that's trying to figure out that's what my next fall trip is down there, and I'm just trying to figure out, well, why do I want to go to Disney? I could go to Washington D.C. or something like that. I don't know. Go to the Space Center. I've never been there.
Really? You've never been to Kennedy Space Center?
No, I have to do that.
It's awesome.
Because I always go, because I'm always going, and it's either lately for the last few years. Thank you, people who buy my books. I really do appreciate it. It's great. I never expected people to buy them, but it's terrific that you buy all 3 books now available on Amazon. And I appreciate that because my hobby is what pays for my trips and all that kind of stuff. And so, and I every time I've gone, they've either been research trips or I want to get immersed in a particular place or something like that. So I haven't gone off to some of these other places. There was one summer trip where it was a transportation conference related. So I got kind of exposed to transportation facilities, which is, I like trains. What can I say? Winter Park and taking the train there. Highly recommend that. But I have to do that one of these trips when I have to do that. But Universal keeps adding new things.
Yeah. Oh, it's worth the trip. The Atlantis exhibit is amazing.
Okay, very good. I can compare. We have one of them. We have a space shuttle here in Los Angeles as well, too.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Okay,
they do a whole big show and the reveals it'll take your breath away.
Oh, it's in a temporary building, and you just walk in and you're going, oh, look, it's the space shuttle.
No, there's a whole big reveal for it, and it is a real wow moment.
All right, well, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to go back and listen to that episode. You're helping me with my vacation planning. I appreciate that. I hope in this episode that you guys are all out there thinking about it. I'm curious. Please write me at the Sam Gennawey page on Facebook. It's by readers and listeners is where I've really learned the most about where in your emotional soul these places touch you, because from an urban planner point of view, I want to understand that. I want to understand where I can exploit that in the real world. That's always kind of fun. Or where you don't want to exploit it because it's just going to fail in the real world. And people really, I think theme park aficionados, anybody who's listening to this show, you thought about this. I know you've thought about this. I know you have. So I like to hear about what your thoughts are on it as well.
Definitely. Brilliant. Awesome. It's been a blast, Sam. We will definitely have you on again because I think Islands of Adventure be a different discussion as well and very interesting.
I always love podcasts where people swear. That's really cool.
Hunter.
Thank you guys very, very much. I do really appreciate being on this, and thanks for being really at the forefront of this 150 episodes. Geez, really being at the forefront of recognizing that there was something that was happening, especially in Florida and now more so in Los Angeles. That there's something that was happening, and people should be aware of that because this business is starting to change, and you guys were really at the forefront of that. So kudos to you. You are who you are, and that's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. Brilliant. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Right, well, that's going to do it for episode 150. Sam can talk, Hunter, yes?
Yes, but it's all interesting stuff.
It
so
is,
don't even mind.
Like we said earlier, his stuff is that he's talking to the actual people and seeing the documents as well. That's awesome. I'd love to see that stuff.
Absolutely.
I definitely look forward to getting him on and talking more about and finding out a bit more. Because it's funny, actually, episode 8's just come out of the archive, which I think was the interview we had with Jim where he talked a bit about that. So it'll be interesting to get Sam on. And
is that the infamous Chair Creek episode?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, yes. There we go.
So it'd be interesting to sort of delve more into that and find out more about it. And actually, we're going to delve a little bit more into that in about 3 or 4 weeks' time when we have Gary Goddard on to talk about the original concepts for the Jurassic Park area as well, which would be quite interesting.
Just all sorts of interesting interviews coming up.
Definitely. That one, everyone, I'll be the one nervously sat in the corner nearly throwing up beforehand. So yeah, that's going to do it. Don't forget, we are having our UK podcast meet on September the 26th at the National Emergency Services Museum in Sheffield. If you want to find out more about it and book your tickets, it is uuophh2015.moonfruit.com. See, I didn't sing it, even though Tracy's not here, because she tells me I'm not allowed to, because we'll get sued.
Legal obligations, man.
Darren is still running his Halloween Horror Nights competition. All you have to do is send in your craziest maniacal clown laugh, and he will listen to them all and pick the one he likes the most, and you will get something free from Halloween Horror Nights this year. So we've still only had one. Hunter, you can send one in if you want. You won't win, but we'd like to hear it.
Okay, I'll send in one.
I'm going to Craig Lucas, why have we not had one from you yet? Because you would have thought you would have been the one that would have done it.
Wait, our entry wasn't from Craig?
No, it was from...
this is catching me off guard, man.
I know. What else have we got to go? Anything else to announce? Producers Club's still open. We've had a few new members recently, so if you want to join the Producers Club and help keep the show running, all you have to do is email us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. Hunter, anything else? Think there's anything else to throw out at the end?
I think that's it for this show.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to throw one out there. We are working with the kitchen. They are officially working with us now to set up the meet in October. Again, I think it looks like it's going to be, I think it's whatever the last Tuesday of October. I think it's the 28th.
Okay.
Or the 27th. Hunter, are you going to be there?
I will have the day off. I will not be participating in the said challenge, but I will be there.
Anybody who wants, we will set up a page for people who want to come because we want an idea of who's going to come, who's going to do the challenge and stuff. But we are, because our youngest wants to do it, they are actually potentially working on a kids challenge as well as part of the kitchen challenge. Or they've dubbed it the Little Rockers Challenge.
Okay.
So that could be, so if anyone is coming and bringing kids, then potentially you could do the challenge with us, but it'll be like a kiddified version, which would be pretty awesome. We as a foursome need to sit down and organise when everyone's going to be there and organise a time to actually go and anything else we want to throw in.
Sounds good to me.
Because Darren has said he's going to do it on the show, so it's there for everyone to... This is the longest outro we've done for ages. We don't normally do this long. Anyway.
Seriously, my battery just beeped at me.
Right, so for Sam and Hunter, I am Lee, and this has been the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast.
Well, that wraps up another unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. Just search the word UUO Podcast. We'd love to hear from you, so if you've seen something hilarious in the parks, let us know for our Funny Schmidt segment. And if you've had a great experience with a team member, we want to hear about that too. So to get in touch with us, email us at podcast@uuopodcast.com or record us a message at speakpipe.com/uuopodcast. Please subscribe to us on iTunes and rate and review the show. That would be amazing. Not an Apple user? No problem. You can find us on Stitcher, at uuopodcast.libsyn.com, as well as many other podcast apps. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Fairy Godmother Travel, for all your Universal vacation needs. Head over to our partner site, micechat.com, for even more theme park news, and check out micepod.com. So until next time, be adventurous.
This has been a micepod.com presentation.
Mice Chat.